Welcome to the Marketing Stir podcast by Stirista, where we chat with industry leaders and get their take on the challenges facing the market. And maybe we'll have a little fun along the way.
In this week's episode of the Marketing Stir, Vincent brings Suzanne Darmory, President and CMO of The AGNCY, onto the pod. Tune in to hear about her journey from junior copywriter to CMO, her firm's specialization in turning people into brands, and the importance of authentic storytelling.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of the Marketing Stir. I am your host, your happy host with a fresh haircut, so you know I'm even happier than usual. Do I get one every 10 days? I sure do. It's probably a problem. But anyway, I'm so happy to be here, and I am actually hosting this from the last day that I will be in this office. I've been in a WeWork office for 10 years. They've served me well, but I am moving on to other things, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode. If you don't know me and you're just tuning in, I am Vincent Petrofessa. I am the Vice President of B2B Products here at Stirista. I'm also the co-host of the Marketing Stir. If it's your first time listening, thank you. Tune in. You're going to love it. Also, I am coming to you solo today without my co-host, ladies and gentlemen, the one and only AJ Gupta, but I will see his smiling face. Hopefully he has a haircut because, he doesn't, I always have to encourage him to get a haircut. He just lets it go sometimes. But I will see him in San Antonio next week for a big celebration. Also, if you're just listening and you don't know who Stirista is, I just talk about us for just 17 seconds, 20 seconds, I don't know. Marketing technology company. We own our own business-to-business data, business-to-consumer data. We then have the technology to push out to that data to get new customers through email marketing, CTV, display. Email me at vincent@stirista.com. That is how confident I am. I just gave you my email address. And boy, are you using it. Not always for what I intend it to be, but you're listening. That's a good thing. And yes, we will see AJ very soon. But yeah, the last day, bittersweet. It's been a great 10 years in this office and made a lot of friendships, but they are closing. They're making it into condos, and it's a ghost town. If you hear some noises in the background, they're doing something. But that's not going to stop us from having, and what a great last episode for me to do in this office. Not the last episode ever, ladies and gentlemen. Take it easy, unless they tell me to stop, and then that's everybody's loss. But it's okay. We're not going anywhere because we have an amazing guest. This is a guest where I met her in person, and we don't often have guests on that I've met before or sometimes even after. But I met her in person. She came up to us at Advertising Week. And she knows a lot of people here at Stirista, and I talked to her, and we got to know her and the great things that she's doing at her own organization. Ladies and gentlemen, we have some great conversations today. The President and Chief Marketing Officer at The AGNCY, Suzanne Darmory. What's going on, Suzanne?
Hi, Vincent. Thank you so much for having me. What a pleasure. And it was really cool meeting you first and then doing this. I was like, we need to do something together, right?
Yes. I was like, wait, how do I not know this person? You ever get that feeling where you're like, this is like my pal. And we just met at the Advertising Week booth that we had at Stirista.
That's right.
And quite a few people that we know together. We know Doug Steinberg and Chet Dalzell. And I just saw Chet a couple days ago. We had our holiday Marketing Club of New York event, and it was his birthday as well. So
Yes.
we know so many people in common. So
I saw him on his birthday because we were judging the Echoes together this week.
yes, that's right. I know. I have a bone to pick with Michael Cruz from the Echoes, and we were talking about it the other day. Michael's a friend of mine. I don't know if you know Michael.
Yes, very well. He's awesome.
He's great. And we were talking about, so Stirista, what we had donated to them is we did some marketing to help them get people interested in the Echo Awards. And would you believe who didn't get an invite? This guy.
Stop.
And
You
I
need to be there.
I know.
It was so cool.
And it was right down the street from where I work and live. I'm like, so Michael, if you're listening to this, and I know you are because we've had, people from your company on before. Yeah, shame. Anyway, Suzanne, it is great to see you again. Let's get right into it because I love your story. I love your background. The AGNCY. Tell us about the organization, your role. You're wearing a few different hats there. Would love to learn more.
So I had a path. I started in the advertising world as a junior copywriter, made my way up to C-suite. And then during the pandemic, I decided to do two things. One was accidental, one planned. So the accidental thing is I actually went marketing side. So I went client side to go work at L'Oreal at SkinCeuticals and run their social media. At the same time, I decided, hey, I've always wanted to start my own agency. So I was sort of like building and switching. It was a real transformative time, and I was very grateful to have the time to really go marketing side, as well as start my own agency, which I've had ever since. So that was in 2019. I started the agency.
How did you get started in marketing just in general? Was it something you studied in school? Was it something that you stumbled upon? Were you a religion major and then because we've had guests on who are like, I studied religion and now I'm in marketing. I'm like, wow, that's strange, but it's okay.
So that is a great question. No, I didn't study religion. I actually was a trained fine artist and I wanted to go to art school. And right before I went to art school, my mom was like, nope, not going to make a living that way. You can't do it. So she talked me into saying, okay, if you go to undergrad, then I'll pay for your finance, like master's later. Of course, knowing I would never do that. So I went to Boston University School of Communications knowing I wanted to use art. But then I got to school and I realized copywriters only needed to write. They needed Excel and they needed Word, and that was it. But art directors had to know InDesign and Photoshop and that. And I was like, no, I'm doing the lazy route. But the lazy route has been, actually quite an interesting route because it started as copy, but then it goes into a bigger, you learn more about the strategy and targeting and messaging and writing manifestos and understanding clients and sort of taking that pathway of what is, the lazy route is actually I found to be quite interesting. I do still paint on the side, but yes, I would have never made a living that way. My mom was right. Mom, you were
No,
right.
I had a recent conversation with my son's teacher, and this was when he was in kindergarten, so he was 5 years old. And this goes back to the art part where I probably shouldn't have said this, but his teacher was like, well, he's really not doing great in art and drawing. And I said, oh, great. Well, I'm not going to have to support him for and then she didn't find it funny. And then I was trying to, but anyway, it's kind of brought up, but you made the right move and I'm glad you're still painting. And again, I love the arts. So Suzanne, talk to us about the agency in particular. What would you say the specialties are? What do you like doing for organizations?
So the real goal of creating the agency is I found that there was something missing. And the missing thing is we are all selling brands. We're all speaking to brands. We're all, living in brands. The one thing people forget to do is create their own personal brand. So what we specialize is in turning people into brands and small to medium-sized businesses into world-class brands. I think it's really important to understand how to self-brand because there are so many levels of that. And our mission is really to like ignite the thoughts, the ideas, and amplify the authentic message and voices for both the people as brands and the brands amplifying and craft that story. We sort of create the pathway from being a person to being a brand. And again, I do work with small to medium businesses and help them with everything from brand reputation, PR, marketing, advertising. It's sort of a full gamut. But the real thing is like it's so cool to turn like I turned a lawyer into a big brand. I turned an artist into a big brand. Rappers, you name it. Like people come to me. We just landed an orthodontist who is trying to become a bigger brand. And it's just so cool because people understand that there's an absolute need it's a self-promotion, but in an authentic way.
No, I love that. And there's two things you said there where I have some questions on. And how's the idea of building emotionally connected brands changed throughout your career?
Oh, I mean, absolutely. You have a few things. You have authentic storytelling. Back in the day, it would just be like slogans or taglines or headlines. And now it's about creating that emotional bond really through authentic stories and the transparency, and celebrating customers' values, which we didn't have before. Social media obviously is amplifying it. Digital platforms are helping. It's a new way to really like engage emotionally That's one way. Another way is technology and data so the fuel for empathy starts with the data, how you get into the customer, how you get into who they are, where they are, how to target, and the tools, the analytics, everything we do, obviously with AI backing it all, to really personalize the interactions, but keep them human and authentic.
And now let's talk about the individuals, if you will. So is it just sort of the executives that you're working with there? And what are some of the steps for helping them build an influential personal brand?
Absolutely. So there are a few things. The first thing is I always do an onboard because the only person who knows the story better, is that person. And I feel like when people start talking, they could have it in their head, but I literally just spent an hour saying, all right, tell me what you want to do, tell me who you are. So defining the core values, their point of view, what they want to sort of how they want to attract new customers or grow or whatever their goal is, and then crafting the story. Like, what does that mean? What is their, treating them like a brand? What is their go-to-market message? What is the go-to-market strategy? How does that implement and go across all of the different ways? Normally, there's a digital presence, whether it's a website, social media, Google Ads, and then, understanding how that brand can be amplified and engaged. And I'd like to do a content calendar because one of the things that we always forget to do as people and as humans is we're like, oh, I'm going to post this thing or, oh, I'm going to do this thing. But to create that content calendar, meaning specifically saying January is for this, February is for this, and understanding the path, because even individuals have their quarterly cadences. So, and we all sort of know what they are for the most part.
And that's another question I have. You figure a lot of times you hear that sometimes brands they don't know their identity or they think they have an identity where they're like, this is who we are. And you're like, well, someone told me long ago, or I heard it maybe a statement, your brand is what your customers tell you you are. But again, so with that, am I on the right track there, Suzanne? Or so that A, that question, and B, oftentimes do individuals have a different perception on their brand, and you have to kind of help mold it and focus or even establish it sometimes.
You're exactly right on all those points. So, one of the things is understanding. I don't think consumers have their own opinion of brands, right? But do they define a brand? Is the CMO at like a big, let's say soda company saying, okay, our customers are going to tell us we're cool and we're going to continue doing this? Probably not. I
Mhm.
think, to define the brand is to understand what your goals are 6 months, 12 months, 3 years, 5 years. And obviously those change because right now everything is coming at the speed of light, right? People talk about AI, people talk about everything that's coming down the pipeline, right? So it's a matter of understanding how you want to portray who you are, what growth looks like, and how to start the momentum that gets you the next place where the next 6 months you say, okay, now we're going to evolve it a little bit further.
Mhm.
And I've started, with people ground up. I've started with people who just want to amplify their brands, or they had, I worked with a well-known artist who had a big Christie's auction and was like, I need to be a bigger brand. I worked with a criminal attorney who had a big case that was all over the press. And we just decided to make sure that he was, extremely buttoned up, that everything was in place, and that PR knew, like, the outlets knew how to reach me for his PR. So I had him all over the news. And, it's really so case by case, but I think the importance is the same. It's how you establish your message and what that looks like.
And I love one of the things you said earlier, Suzanne, about using data. Can you tell me how you kind of use someone's personal insight, how you're blending that with data without kind of going into the algorithm or not just relying on that? We're a data company, Stirista. Would love to hear this.
Yeah, it's interesting because data and humanity don't necessarily, you don't think of them hand by, like side by side, hand in hand.
Hmm.
But what we do is we use real-time data and we to create that empathetic, human-centered story. And we listen deeply to the audience behavior and feedback. So We like to monitor live engagement, which means people responding to their social media, website interactions, content shares, direct feedback. Obviously, with press, you know if it's working because the outlets are calling you, right? But I think the biggest thing is analyzing the sentiment data and really tracking the conversions because at the end of the day, it's about sales, it's about amplification. Every brand wants and people's brand want the same thing, right? They want more visitors, they want more clients, they want more visibility. It's very similar. They have similar pain points, right? The way you can do it is through authentic things like, testimonials, stories, events, and helping and sort of seeing how the sentiment shifts along the way. So that helps us really keep relevant and responsive because at the end of the day, when you have a human brand, you have to be emotional and you have to be authentic to that.
Mhm. And as you're saying that, and it's like what you were talking about before. How do you kind of balance someone? A lot of these C-level executives, they want to also kind of be famous in a way, right? Where they're like, "Make me famous." It's like, well, wait a minute. How do you kind of balance out making some being famous or really building a strategic, reputable brand?
That is a great question. I think if you think about fame, which we're surrounded by day in and day out, right? I don't know about you, but I am targeted by it. But I think of fame as awareness, where personal branding creates impact. So you can be famous, you could be widespread, you could be all over reality TV. I'm not mentioning names, but it's sort of how you drive as a strategically built personal brand it will create an authentic, successful, purposeful sort of vision. Fame can be fleeting. A good brand stays forever.
No, I agree. Yeah, it's sometimes my CEO thinks he's famous. Now we walk around conferences, we're like, come on, no, we're not. That's like 11 people. 11 people came up to
That's
us.
awesome.
No, I'm kidding, of course. But Suzanne, can you give me an example of how listening to feedback helped you turn your company's mission into real energy and vibes?
Listening is the most critical thing, right? I mean, that onboarding, that first moment where you sit down and you go, what are you trying to solve? How can I solve it? It's as simple as that. It's just answering, like asking the right questions and getting the answers and utilizing them. And the listening is critical. If we don't listen to what people want, we can't get any results.
I also, you mentioned, and I know this about you, we're talking about company's brand, also helping personal. But bulk of what you do, you're CMO, fractional CMO, right? For some of these companies, what are you doing there? That's even more beyond some of just the brand building, right? Talk to us through that. What are some of the tactics you like to implement? What are you helping some of these companies with?
Yeah, and being a fractional CMO is interesting. It's basically you're there to help solve a problem for whatever length of time on a bigger picture and understanding what each because it's marketing side and figuring out the brands. It's like understanding not only the brand but the niche and the bigger picture and the competitors. And I've learned a lot about different marketing companies. I think what it really takes is the ability to analyze the given situation and then take the input and the tools that are given to you or ask for the tools that you need to get to where they want to be, right? Because nobody ever calls me because everything is running fine. I normally get the call. It's like, okay, we need help. We need increased sales in 3 months or in 6 months. As a fractional CMO, it's always about strategy, 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 strategy.
And a lot of, like you said, a lot of companies are calling with maybe a certain problem, but why are companies looking to hire a fractional CMO? They're just building up, right? Because a lot of times, I mean, this podcast, 200 plus guests, a lot of CMOs already in place, but why are companies looking for a CMO? Why should companies hire your organization?
I think there is always a need for better marketing. There are very few brands that can say, I've got it, I'm top notch, right? So I think the interesting thing about marketing and particularly being a CMO is knowing that traditionally CMOs had a shelf life of 18 months, right? It was like 18 months you were done, right? So then you have that, you have a few things going on. So you have the shelf life of a CMO overall. You have agencies consolidating like we saw this week, which was insane. You also have more clients bringing everything in-house and building their internal facilities and internal agencies, which I've done in a few brands because it makes sense, right? To hold a brand internally. So when you do that, you need somebody who can understand both sides of the fence because, marketing and advertising are very, very different. The needs are very different. At the end of the day, it's about sales on both sides of the fence. It's understanding that you have to go in, dig under the hood, get the data, and then, just start building.
And you mentioned some of your previous companies that you worked at in fields, right? Looking back, Suzanne, what are some of the cool campaigns that you worked on or campaigns that kind of shocked you or like, wow, this is cool? Would love to understand if there's like a campaign you worked on that you really enjoyed.
Oh, I have so many campaigns that I love, and it would be it's like choosing, favorite child.
Yeah.
I have a few, the campaign that brought me into the real advertising world was I wrote the original IKEA.com at iDeutsch. So Donnie Deutsch, created he brought 8 of us in and we spent an entire year in a room writing and creating IKEA.com. So that was my first like claim to fame. I wrote every page of the original site, and it was when digital was not what it is now. The campaign, there were 2 campaigns that I absolutely love. One was working on Mayor Bloomberg's presidential campaign. I worked in his diversity campaign. It was fascinating. I mean, to work on a presidential campaign and to work for Mayor Bloomberg, such an honor. It was such a once in a lifetime experience, and understanding how to target, how to get voters out in diverse areas. And then Verizon Wireless, we created a day called Connection Day, and we did like a massive rollout. And it was case studies. I mean, in addition to winning a ton of awards, case studies were they had the most data they've ever had, and they had so many people visiting the site on Connection Day, which was the day before Thanksgiving, notoriously the most traveled day of the year. So we created this, turn your Thanksgiving trek into a triumph. Had all these vendors sign on, and it started as like an email, and then suddenly it was, okay, we're gonna do a website. Okay, we're gonna do social media. Okay, we're gonna go shoot a TV spot in LA. Oh, we're going to go into Times Square. Like it was just, we did a full takeover. Every airport, we were on like Apple, Amazon, Boingo, you name it. On my drive home that year, I heard my commercials so many times. I was like, no, I'm targeting myself. So those are probably the coolest campaigns I've worked on.
Oh, those are very cool. Yeah, I love that. How do you balance leading with purpose with the need for profit and growth?
Oh, I mean, that's interesting. I think purpose is such a critical thing. I think, creating the purpose, giving the purpose. One of the things that I actually do and make sure that we do at the agency is I donate my time to charities right now. But I just worked with Rock the Walls, local domestic violence company, and we did their website for free, helping with their branding and really just donating our time because being able to give back to purposeful brands is super, super important to me and close to my heart. And also, I went to BU and I go there and I teach a few times a year. So I just went up to meet with students a few weeks ago. I went in the spring. I dragged my younger son with me, made him sit in front row and listen to me talk for a few days. And just giving back and being able to sort of give every opportunity I've been giving and share and pay it forward.
That's awesome. Yeah, you have to, right? You
Right.
and I, we mentioned our friend Chet. He and I are on the Marketing Club of New York. It's a nonprofit. We, keep students. This is in the New York area, but what you said resonated with me where we give scholarships and keep people interested and fueled into this field for years and years to come. I love that. I love that, Suzanne. So, what's the most important message about your own personal brand? Let's get again now the personal side of the conversation that you want people to remember.
I contributed and made it like a better place to work. I am a huge proponent of mentorship. I take on 2 to 3 individual mentors a year or as many as I can handle. So I guess it's about like championing good work in an extremely saturated world, and leading with empathy.
I love that. Yeah, it's a great message for people. And the legacy's still being written. So,
Right.
Suzanne, this is maybe a personal, not personal question, but more of it's our famous LinkedIn question. And it all depends. I mean, you seem very nice and you mentor. So who knows? You might be really nice to people who are soliciting you on LinkedIn. What is a message that resonates with you? And what's a message that, come on, really stop? This is not good at all.
I think the right message is somebody who's taken the time to either do a little research about me or do a little understanding and say, hey, can we meet? Can we meet up? Like, how can we work together? Love those, right? Dislike the ones that are like, I saw this reference that so and so gave you. Can we talk? Which I get from about 20 people a day. I'm always available for people who want to spend time, talking about mentorship or leadership or, connecting people. Like, that's what I'd love to do. What I don't like are we're inundated now with people who just spam our inboxes on LinkedIn.
Yeah, exactly. No, I now the other day, this was like an email that I received. You know what? Like, I didn't realize this irked me, but my name, Hi Vincent, was in a different font and font size than
No,
the rest of the message. I
no,
was like, come on, that's a little detail.
no.
You just couldn't highlighted it and hit Arial 12. Come on, like this is ridiculous. But yeah, I've been growing maybe because I'm in the marketing industry, obviously, and sales and partnerships where I'm like, come on, you gotta, this is, don't take my title right from LinkedIn because you'll also pull in funnier co-host of the Marketing Stir. And I know that's why I put it there, A, as a joke between AJ and I, but also just to see if you're just scraping that from LinkedIn. But anyway, so personally, Suzanne, tell us about yourself, what you like to do on the weekends, what are some of your hobbies. You're, an East Coaster like me, Northeast. So were you always Northeast? Did you grow up here?
When I'm not working or doing all that fun mentoring stuff. Two teenage boys, 17 and 15. They are both juniors in high school, one at Greenwich High School and one at Brunswick because he got
Yeah.
recruited and reclassed. So they keep me very, very busy at any given time. And one just texted me to pick him up at 2. So I was like,
Yeah,
okay,
it's like, yeah,
I
yeah,
got
you
you.
got
I
to wrap
got
it up,
you.
right?
Right, exactly. So they keep me busy when I'm not doing that. I love doing stuff that creates joy. At the beginning of this year, I said I need to do more things that bring me joy because I don't believe in New Year's resolutions. What sparks joy? So the things that spark joy, as I mentioned, painting, I took drawing classes,
Nice.
live music, traveling, stuff like that. So anytime that I I can do something that sparks joy and sparks creativity, I'm always down for that.
That's awesome. And Suzanne, a closing thought to people out there could be anything like you're reading, anything that you want to part wisdom on as you are a mentor. So, and also after that, where could people find the agency?
Absolutely. I mean, the one thing I would say, closing thought, would be stay curious, stay bold, and don't lose sight of what makes your brand purposeful. And unique. So, we live in a world that's really moving faster than ever before. And I think originality and human connection are what going to keep us, together, alive, present. Lead with empathy, as I said before, and leave your mark, whatever that looks like, but do it with grace and empathy.
I love it. And give people the website where they can come find you.
Absolutely. So you can find me on LinkedIn. Please don't send me any spam messages that we just
Yeah,
discussed.
listen to the episode and
Listen.
yes.
Listen, we are the agency with no e.com. And yeah, that was great.
That's awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening. Thank you, Suzanne, for being here. It's so great to have met you, and I know we're going to be pals for life. We're going to see each other for a long time here. So, Suzanne Darmory, she is the president and chief marketing officer at the agency. I'm Vincent Petrofessa. This has been 10 years at the WeWork here on Fulton and Broadway. Thank you so much to all the staff here. My last day. I will see everyone in San Antonio. Thank you so much. Take care.
Thanks for listening to the Marketing Stir podcast by Stirista. Please like and subscribe. If you're interested in being a guest on the podcast, please email us at themarketingstir@stirista.com.